Inside a bunker, Chloe, Oleg, and another man, all bloodied, desperately try to escape as an AI voice announces a lockdown in 60 seconds. Oleg suddenly stops, shoots the other man, and attempts to shoot Chloe, only hitting her leg before leaving the bunker as the door closes behind him. Chloe, hearing a growl nearby, rushes back through the tunnel, sliding under a closing shutter just in time. However, the other man gets stuck and grabs Chloe's legs, pleading with her not to leave him. A monster appears on the other side, drags the man away, and allows the shutter to fully close. Chloe then finds a computer and sends a distress message, explaining that the facility is under attack, in lockdown for 24 hours, and that she is the sole survivor. She urges anyone interested in Adam and the research to rescue her. Next, Chloe cleans her wound, removes the bullet, washes up, and changes into new clothes from the lockers. Hearing growling again, she hides behind some furniture. The monster approaches, but upon seeing her face, it does not attack. Meanwhile, mercenary James gets a video call from his pregnant wife, who is upset seeing him in gear since he was supposed to come home. James explains he has accepted a special ops mission, promising it will be his last for a while as it pays enough for a good house. James, his best friend Marshall, and Marshall's ex and fellow mercenary Rachel, board a plane. During the trip, Rachel explains the mission details. They must enter a bio-research lab in Bosvania to rescue Chloe without being detected. Oleg's team had already tried to enter the bunker, resulting in 12 civilian casualties, and those soldiers are now searching the area for another entrance. The mercenaries have teams on the ground who have found 2 escape tunnels, so Rachel will join Team Alpha to enter the facility while James and Marshall join Bravo to provide cover. A helicopter will later pick them up. Upon arriving in the forest, James and Marshall spot one of Oleg's men searching for a hatch with a metal detector. The man sees them and immediately runs, prompting a chase. He tries hiding behind a tree, but Team Bravo quickly finds him. The team wants to kill him, but James opts to tie him to a tree instead. The prisoner keeps repeating that the Nephilim are coming, but James dismisses it as nonsense. Bravo leaves, leaving the man tied to the tree. Meanwhile, Team Alpha uses a small explosive to create a hole and enter the bunker. Inside, they encounter a man whose face is mutating. The man charges at them, and despite their gunfire, he is not stopped and sends a mercenary flying. In the forest, Team Bravo discovers their prisoner has escaped. Suddenly, a bomb explodes nearby, and they run for cover, returning fire as Oleg's men ambush them. One team member is killed instantly, and another is severely wounded. Bombs continue to explode in the area, knocking Marshall down, but he quickly recovers and resumes firing, only to get pinned behind a tree. James is also knocked down by a bomb, dragging himself to recover his weapon before running through the trees to kill the remaining enemies and save Marshall. He encounters the escaped prisoner and shoots him in the head without hesitation. Afterward, James and Marshall help their wounded teammate, but upon hearing more enemies approaching, they hide him after bandaging his wound. They take cover and observe Oleg's men finding their other teammate, who wasn't dead and is repeatedly shot by the enemy. Oleg's group then brings a dog to search for them, forcing Marshall to shoot the handler. Another gunfight ensues, with the duo killing as many men as possible while running through the forest. Running out of bullets, and with more explosions nearby, they are forced to jump off a cliff into the water. The strong current pushes them downstream, and James manages to hold onto a rock, worrying about Marshall, who appears swimming nearby. They reach land and sneak around to the meeting place, but Team Alpha is nowhere to be found. An argument ensues as Marshall wants to wait for the pickup as planned, but James believes Oleg will find them soon. Hearing barking in the distance, Marshall agrees to hide in a cave. The duo crawls through narrow tunnels until they reach an open area, where they excitedly find a hatch under some rocks. They immediately move the rocks and enter the bunker. Meanwhile, Oleg and Jonah find the injured mercenary and beat him up, demanding to know the bunker entrance's location. Suddenly, a body bag starts moving, and Oleg shoots it before making the mercenary open it. Inside there's a monster, which Oleg lights on fire, explaining that this is why they can't allow anyone to enter the lab. Inside the bunker, James and Marshall wander around, finding blood everywhere but no bodies. They pick up a few guns and bullets from the ground before continuing their search. In another room, they find photographs showing Chloe and a monster in the snow. James takes pictures with his phone and plays a recording from a scientist explaining they retrieved the body of Subject N from a glacier. They used the monster's blood on humans, but it acted as a parasite, attacking people's DNA. Some scientists believed the monster was something out of the Bible that shouldn't have been awakened. Marshall doesn't understand, so James explains about the fallen angels who abused human women, resulting in the birth of very strong monsters known as Nephilim. These monsters waged war on humanity, nearly causing extinction, but Noah built the ark to save them, and the flood supposedly killed all the Nephilim. At that moment, they hear growling, and James goes to investigate. Feeling a presence behind him, he follows it down the hall and enters another room. After hearing strange noises from the vent, James sees Chloe behind the furniture and talks to her. She warns him that the monsters are attracted to sound, but it's too late. A monster appears above them and throws James to the ground, causing him to drop his gun. The monster lands on top of James and repeats his words with a growling voice. Before it can attack, Chloe appears behind it and hits it with an axe. The monster turns toward her, but Marshall shows up and opens fire. The bullets don't hurt it, and the monster escapes through the vent. More growling is heard in the vents, and Chloe tells the duo they need to leave before the monster returns. The trio rushes back to the entrance, but freeze upon discovering Oleg's group has arrived. They attempt to retreat through the same corridor, only to find the monster blocking their way. As the beast approaches, Chloe notices another vent and the trio quickly jumps inside. They crawl as fast as possible while Chloe sees the monster below them. The group freezes to avoid making noise, but Marshall accidentally plays the recorder. He quickly turns it off, but the monster has already heard them and reaches into the vent, grabbing James' foot. Chloe and Marshall continue until they reach a room, while James shoots the monster to make it release him. James then joins the others in the room, where Chloe is vomiting. The guys demand an explanation, so Chloe tells them that the scientists used Subject N's blood to create a genetic hybrid named Adam, who was part human, part monster. James suggests they leave through the other entrance, but Chloe points out that's where Adam started it all. Over 20 employees were infected, becoming the monsters they're now fighting. James recalls the map showing a third tunnel and decides they need to find it to escape. After Chloe throws up again, the trio leaves the room. They sneak around and find another vent, so while James works on opening it, Chloe continues to explain. Adam was the first successful hybrid, created 30 years ago from an embryo, and was brought here for containment. However, he became unstable due to the experiments done on him and eventually snapped. James finally opens the vent, but before they can leave, they are found by one of Oleg's men. The group urges him to keep his voice down, but the man doesn't listen, soon attracting a monster that kills him in seconds. The trio uses the opportunity to crawl away through the vent. Chloe informs them that Oleg was the lab's guard, but despite this, he still killed Adam. Now, Oleg wants to weaponize Adam's research, which Chloe possesses. The trio eventually exits the vent and follows pipes into an engine room. They cross a narrow door and search for the next hatch when James' watch beeps, signaling the end of the lockdown. The trio crosses another door, locking it behind them, and follows a corridor until they find Rachel, severely wounded. On the security cameras, Chloe sees the enemy approaching. Marshall tries to bring Rachel with them, but Chloe insists she's infected, with no cure. When Marshall refuses to leave her behind, Chloe directs him to the medical ward to get a stretcher. While Marshall goes to the medical ward and James searches for the next hatch, Chloe seizes the moment to shoot Rachel in the head. The guys return upon hearing the shot, and Marshall is furious, ignoring Chloe's explanation that she saved Rachel from suffering as a monster. Marshall threatens to kill Chloe, but James intervenes. The noise draws the attention of the monster, which soon appears at the door. Marshall and James start shooting at it, but their bullets have no effect. Once they run out of ammunition, the group flees, accidentally splitting up as the monster chases them. James and Chloe hide in a medical ward, where a body immediately starts moving and roaring. Chloe covers its face with a pillow, and James hands her his knife to stab it to death. Meanwhile, Marshall makes it to the morgue and hides inside a freezer next to a body. At that moment, James contacts him, and Marshall hears a monster trying to break into